to a big match like this, it's always nice if you can get off to a decent start. Even players as good as Djokovic and Nadal like to build up their confidence in each individual match that they play. But I think it's even more important for Djokovic, given that he's lost the last 3 times to Nadal. Both will be nervous, no question about that. I mean, these guys play so many matches, they play so many big, important matches too. This means a lot when they face each other, a lot of pride at stake. Obviously, in a big tournament like this, it means a lot to these two to be able to get their hands on the trophy.
Early aggression from the Serbian paying off.
A lovely combination. That backhand down the line is a shot that needs to work well for Djokovic today. He can put Nadal under pressure, and then he danced around the backhand beautifully for the final forehand. Needs to be prepared to come in too. Can't get stuck at the baseline.
Good solid start for Djokovic then. Plenty for his fans to smile about early on.
Yeah, some nice aggression throughout the course of that game. If he can outmaneuver Nadal and force him to put that sliced backhand under pressure, it just floats a little bit. That will give him a bit of additional time to either step up, take the backhand on, or run around that shot and use his forehand, as he did well towards the tail end of that game.
For me, Djokovic has played the slightly better tennis so far this week. Would you agree with that, Jason?
Yeah, when you're looking at ball striking, it's been good. But we've seen that before. You know, he was playing some great tennis in Montreal and then disappeared at the tail end of their match, which went to a deciding set tiebreak. At the US Open, he was playing some incredible tennis, but then, of course, so was Nadal. So I think a lot of that goes out of the window when these two face each other.
Yeah, it's about matchups, isn't it, tennis, this sport? Lost just 3 sets, Djokovic, at this tournament over the years. That's how hard it's been to defeat him. One of those this week, Fernando Verdasco. In fact, Verdasco's won 2 of those 3 over the years here in Beijing against Djokovic. A left-handed Spaniard, perhaps that's a sign.
Well, you were talking about the matchup, and of course when left-handers play right-handers, especially when they've got big forehands like Verdasco and Nadal, they'll just go cross-court most of the time with that particular shot, try and break down the right-hander's backhand, and that works against the vast majority of right-handers. Just ask Roger Federer. The big difference as far as Djokovic is concerned is his backhand is stronger than his forehand, and that double-hander is superb. So he can rally with Nadal, and he can take the ball on the rise when the Spaniard drops it short, and then if he can get that backhand down the line working well, that gives him an opportunity to actually put Nadal under pressure in terms of his movement and perhaps draw an error, or at the very least a weaker sliced backhand, and that will allow him then to dominate the rally.
first real hefty baseline exchange.
Evidence there that Djokovic isn't afraid to go at the Nadal forehand early on in the rally to try and open up the backhand. That's the other advantage that Djokovic has over some of his peers when he takes on Nadal. The return of serve is so strong. Again, the lefty will go to the right-hander's backhand most of the time, but he loves that return. So Nadal mixing it up there, going to the Djokovic forehand, but all to no avail. Good depth on the return, and then mopping up the short ball wonderfully well.
Worth a challenge, but close.
𝐁𝐞𝐢𝐣𝐢𝐧𝐠 is challenging a ball on the left.
A big point too. Always good if you can get off to a quick start and grab that break. 30 all on Nadal's serve is a key moment. And an idea when that virtual ball landed of Djokovic's support inside this arena this afternoon. Hearty cheer as it showed that return clipped the line. He really embraces this part of the world, Djokovic, and I think his Chinese fans respect that.
There's that pattern of play. Nadal getting a little nervous, dropping the ball short with the forehand cross-court. Djokovic able to dominate with the backhand, move the ball around, outmaneuver Nadal, draw the error in the end.
Early pressure then for the Spaniard. Break point for the top seed. There is the break. It was a decent serve, but what a return. It was back on Nadal in the blink of an eye.
And some very sensible shot selection, patterns of play that Djokovic is looking to use have become very obvious in the opening couple of games here. And so far, game plan's working well.
Halt.
play midway through the rally from Nadal. He tried to put a bit of pressure on Djokovic, pulling the trigger and the forehand down the line, but it's defended so well, neutralized the threat instantly.
Perfect start then for Novak Djokovic. Just 11 minutes on the clock, and plenty for him and his team to smile about. Takes the opening 3 games of this first set. Just an idea of the top seeds' serve direction in the tournament so far.
Yeah, he's hit his targets well, hasn't he? No surprises there. It's one of the best shots in his armoury. He uses it to set up the point so that he can then dominate from the baseline thereafter.
Sit quickly, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Big game this then for Nadal. Needs to try and find a way of building a little bit of momentum within the match. And that's the best way to do it. He's got to fight fire with fire. Too passive in the opening few games. Forehand needs to work well, and when he gets a short ball, it's relatively central like that one. Needs to make the most of it.
Significant venue, of course, for Nadal as well. Beijing, he won his Olympic singles gold medal on this site. This court wasn't around back in 2008. It was added in 2011. But he's talked this week about how special this place is in terms of his career. A special moment for him. Always brings back good memories, doesn't it, when you come back to a venue where you've won before, across any sport, really, not just tennis.
Yeah, we see it a lot in our sport. Players have a lot of success at one particular event or a couple of events. And Nadal, we were talking earlier about Monte Carlo, weren't we? And of course the French Open. And you just feel good when you arrive back, 12 months later. You understand what's required to perform well. What's expected of you at that event. You have your favourite restaurant. You like staying in the same hotel. Feel comfortable. It allows you to play a little better. Much better game that. A little more aggression. Good serving. Use the forehand well.
Djokovic leads 3-1.
Nadal on the board then. But still a break of serve adrift.
15 love.
Played some wonderful tennis last night against Gasquet, Novak Djokovic. Striking the ball beautifully.
Again, Nadal simply can't afford to drop the ball short and central, because off either wing, Djokovic can hurt him. It was the backhand initially, then the forehand that opened up the court beautifully. Nice to see him wanting to move forward, to take the ball out of the air, to try and shorten the rally, end the point. Good technique on the smash.
Beautiful touch as well as power. I wonder, Jason, whether that semi has helped Djokovic a little bit, particularly with Nadal only playing 6 games yesterday. It's a bit sharper, isn't he?
Yeah, and we saw Nadal head straight back out onto the practice court, but it's never the same, is it? I'm sure he would have loved to have finished that match. Nice variation here from Djokovic. Again, it was the backhand down the line. It was a combination of those shots that won the point for him.
Another good service game for the Serbian then.
Djokovic leads 4-1.
Djokovic in firm control of this first set. 4-1. Lee Goodall alongside Jason Goodall on finals day in Beijing, the 2013 China Open. What an atmosphere, Jason, inside this arena. It's wonderful, isn't it?
And both players have started relatively well. Djokovic more so than Nadal, who's been a little passive in the first few games. The service game was a little better. A lot of expectation when these two meet, especially in a big final like this. We know when they both play their best tennis at the same time, the rallies can be breathtakingly good. Djokovic looking the sharper of the two in the opening exchanges. That's the pressure I think that Djokovic is putting on Nadal. He's returning well. And then as the server, you always think you need to do a little more with your delivery. And that can lead to the occasional double fault. But good servers will tell you if you're not serving any doubles, you're not being aggressive enough when stepping up to the line.
Got a bit lucky, didn't he? Shanked the forehand, got away with it.
And didn't do enough for the volley either, so he was very fortunate there to get away with it. Djokovic was unlucky in that he overran, having anticipated that this volley was going to go cross-court. So that backhand there was very difficult. This is where Djokovic has to bear down on Nadal. That was a cheap error there.
30-15.
Seldom is one break enough against the very best in the world.
Yes, and Nadal will know that. While it remains just a single break of serve, he'll feel he has a fighting chance of working his way back into this first set. Nadal, of course, has lost just 3 matches this season. That's how good he's been in 2013. Djokovic, one of those 3 players to beat the Spaniard.
It's not like you would have predicted the other 2 either, is it? Ceballos and 𝐁𝐞𝐢𝐣𝐢𝐧𝐠.
No, memorable matches for those guys, to say the least. Djokovic's victory coming in the final in Monte Carlo, of course.
Djokovic leads 4-2.
Well, he gets the hold, but it was a poor game, really, from Djokovic. Just let his level of intensity dip somewhat. Made a few errors as a result. So it's dangerous.
First serve percentage up in the high 70s, 79% in fact. That's a good number, isn't it?
He's been posting good numbers all week in that regard too. That always helps confidence levels. Serve well, you tend to play well.
It's a great first volley from Djokovic.
Well, he's dealt with the first shot of the rally so well. So when he gets a high percentage of first serves in, a lot of the returns are pretty central and relatively short. And whether it's a forehand, as it was then, or a backhand, he's dominated the rally thereafter. Took up a good position at the net after the first volley as well. Watch him follow the line of the ball there, so he was ready and waiting for that final forehand.
Another very comfortable hold for Djokovic. And a marriage proposal for good measure. Still in firm control. 5-2 first set.
They always welcome those proposals of marriage. I'm not so sure they are as far as Djokovic is concerned at the moment, because he just took care of business in that regard, didn't he? A couple of weeks ago.
Just pipped to the post.
Just too late, mate.
Didn't finish the sign quick enough.
Yeah. She was obviously waiting for him to arrive. needed to have made it over to North America, didn't she?
Imagine seeing the news after you've made the sign as well.
So annoying, isn't it? That's happened to me on a couple of occasions.
Everything going according to plan for the legions of Novak Djokovic fans inside the National Tennis Stadium in Beijing. He's come flying out of the blocks in today's final. Nadal serving to stay in this first set.
Service.
It's a very sensible serve against someone who's returning well. Going into the body, and it's much more difficult to swing freely at the ball, so much tougher to hit an aggressive return. There's that ability I was talking about earlier to take the ball on the rise. If Nadal doesn't do enough with those ground strokes. If he hits with spin, you know, it can still cause problems for a lot of players, I should say, because the work he gets on the ball and he kicks up. But Djokovic is so comfortable hitting the ball between hip and shoulder height of both wings. He's done it well today. I don't think there's any secret that Djokovic returns a little better off the backhand, so serving a little more frequently to the forehand now, so that's a sensible tactic.
And first service.
Not for much longer.
It's another one of those signs that's just come a little too late.
Unhappy with the execution.
You don't often see Nadal doing shadow swings, so he's obviously troubled out there.
Good hold, hangs in there. Forces Djokovic to serve it out.
Djokovic leads 5-3.
Nadal's so good at that, isn't he? Just hanging around long enough to perhaps able to steal the set. Djokovic has served well so far. Let's see what he's made of here when it really matters.
Thank you. Allow 15.
What a change up there. Wonderful shot. Nadal was expecting the forehand inside out. He's leaning to his left.
15-all.
It's so crucial when you hit this shot, when you go inside in, down the line with your forehand from that position that you hit with a lot of spin. It's not depth that's beating Nadal there, it's direction. It's the surprise element of the shot. So you don't hit it hard and flat. Don't flirt with the net. Don't go anywhere near the lines. Don't need to.
Fortunate. It's a freebie, isn't it? Second serve, nowhere near.
30-15. Service.
Umpire jumped in immediately. Called long initially, overruled. Nadal immediately challenging.
It's good overall, isn't it?
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Mr. Nadal has 2 challenges.
Razor sharp. It was immediate too.
Yeah, Damian Steiner doing a good job there. It's a great serve. And again, just dealing with that short central return so well. No hesitation whatsoever here. Fully committed to the shot. And again, safe targets.
2 set points. He's been much the better player so far, Novak Djokovic. Impressive start to this final from the Serbian. All he needed was 35 minutes to wrap up that opening set. 6-3.
Highly impressive. Just one game where he just lost his concentration slightly, made a couple of unforced errors, allowed Nadal to hold comfortably. Posted some really good numbers. He served well all week. Whenever you can get anything above 65% of your first serves in, you're always going to give yourself the best possible chance of performing well. Today it's 73% so far. As you would expect, he's won the vast majority of those points, 94%. Look how well he's defended his second serve, winning 83% of those points, whereas that's been a nightmare as far as Nadal's concerned. He's only won 25% of the points when he's been down to his slightly weaker serve. And of course, there was only the one break point throughout the course of that opening set, Djokovic converting it and shutting Nadal out in that regard. Great set of tennis from the defending champion.
Everyone enjoying themselves inside the National Tennis Stadium this afternoon. Late afternoon, local time in Beijing, just coming up to around 5 p.m. local time. And we've got a ladies' final to enjoy after this one. Serena Williams up against Jelena Jankovic, former world #1. Another Serbian. Serbians doing well in Beijing this week.
Against quality return of serve. So really the fundamentals well. You've got an excellent chance of getting the right results. So we've talked about the great numbers that Djokovic is posting so far on serve. The quality of his return has been outstanding too.
A tumble from the top seed.
But a forehand from Nadal, the more aggression. And surely he's well aware of the fact that that's what's required now.
Challenge from Djokovic. Stops the point, so it must be fairly confident that this flew long.
Good call. Not easy sometimes to see that ball when it's bouncing centrally and coming up at you. Sometimes you see it very late as the ball's rising off the court, as opposed to when it actually first hits the court and skids through a little bit, so you can make a mistake.
Big game, big point too, 30-all. Oh, Nadal prevails.
But Djokovic can't believe it. Such a good rally. He neutralized Nadal's first forehand so well, and then he read this backhand. Just didn't give the lob enough elevation. The point was there to be had. Nice feel, look at the dexterity there. Full stretch, great control, good anticipation. Bit of a let-off in the end for Nadal.
Points.
It's just not produced the level of tennis that we've seen this year, Nadal, has he, this week?
Well, he's been battling hard, fought his way into the final, but knows that he needs to elevate the level of his game today. Hasn't been able to do it as yet. There's been no real letdown from Djokovic either. Hasn't allowed Nadal back into the match.
Advantage, Nadal. Second serve.
Turning into a key game, this first game of the second set.
He read the serve, that's why he's frustrated. Nadal's been going to his forehand when it's really mattered. A tactic that he likes to use, of course, against the right-hander most of the time. Lefties tend to slide that one down the tee or go out wide to the ad court, but today he's trying to pepper the Djokovic forehand, given how well Djokovic has returned off the backhand.
Another great backhand return, Jason, right on cue.
Yeah, good depth, good width as well. And then once he gets a good return in play, he's kept impeccable length throughout the course of rallies. He's been able to break down the Nadal backhand, opening up the court initially and then forcing Nadal to hit many of his backhands with slice. And that's allowed Djokovic then to gain the upper hand in the rally and retain it.
Pushing hard, Djokovic. Nadal unable to live with the Serbian at the moment.
Yeah, you got a real sense in that last rally, didn't you, that Djokovic could have done that all day, whereas Nadal was really straining to keep coming over those backhands. And after 3 of them, he was forced to use the slice, but just got caught a little late on it.
Nadal facing break point. What athleticism from Djokovic, and what depth too, kept Nadal under pressure and is rewarded with a break of serve early on in this second set.
Well, both guys can defend incredibly well, but that was out of this world. He was under so much pressure there. The depth that he got midway through the rally with a double-handed backhand kept him in it. And then, of course, he had to hit the forehand at full stretch, had to come underneath the ball with a bit of slice, but timed it beautifully. Sensational stuff. And we're talking about quality depth. Djokovic has been keeping 33% of his shots landing well close to the baseline. Nadal, on the other hand, 42% of those have dropped in that attackable section. And that's a fundamental difference between these two. When balls have been dropped short, Djokovic has dealt with them incredibly well, and he hasn't allowed Nadal to do the same to him because he simply hasn't hit that many short balls.
Just turned up the volume, the Djokovic fans, in the last couple of minutes. Nadal in real trouble now. Djokovic with a set and a break.
Thank you, players are ready. Thank you.
Talked a lot this week, of course, about the world #1 ranking, Nadal into top spot tomorrow morning. I wonder how much of a motivating factor that was for Djokovic today, just the ego taking a bit of a knock.
Yeah, these guys do have sizable egos. They're great competitors. They like being #1. It's got to hurt. And I think that's a good sign, isn't it? You know, it's no good being happy that you've lost the #1 ranking in the world. It's got to give you additional motivation. But the process of becoming #1 in the world, you know, takes a long time. Thomas Berdych was saying the other day, the fact that Nadal's achieved it in such a short space of time after missing so much tennis last season is incredible.
Backs up the break. Wonderfully well, Djokovic. And in a flash, Nadal serving again. No let-up for the Spaniard at the moment.
Focus and concentration from Djokovic has been so good. The match can be won in the next 10 minutes or so. This is when Nadal is usually at his most dangerous. Just looked a little slow there, Nadal, didn't he? Moving
30,
out
15.
to the forehand. But again, look at the depth initially from Djokovic. And then he realized he didn't need it on that shot because that was all about outmaneuvering Nadal. So just added a little bit of spin going over the high part of the net. His targets have been so good when executing the patterns of play in the match so far. For once, just dropping the ball a little too short on the return. But it was a quality serve, wasn't it? Look how hard Djokovic had to work to get it back in play. Good stuff from Nadal.
Once more, struggling on serve, Nadal. Just too many free points today. "17 unforced errors from the Spaniard. Just 9 from Djokovic. And just 7 winners from Nadal. Is this virtual match point, Jason?
You would have thought so, wouldn't you? Just been constant pressure from Djokovic since the opening game, since the very first point. Very few unforced errors. Quality ball striking. He's kept the ball nice and deep. He's worked the point well. He's opened up the Nadal backhand. He's pressured it. Served well. Returned incredibly well. There's nothing Nadal's done better than Djokovic so far.
He did everything right, didn't he? Another inch perfect return, just beaten for pace.
It's frustrating because he actually read it really well. He well to handle the first volley. Nothing wrong with going straight back up the middle of the court. Just got caught a little late on that one. Obviously the ball's fizzing at him, so not easy to time. And that was a half chance.
Ruthless.
Absolutely perfect in terms of the game plan and, of course, the execution. It's the one shot that he can hurt Nadal with more than any other. The Spaniard drops the ball short. Djokovic can take up a nice aggressive position inside the baseline. Take that one on the rise up the line. Hits that one beautifully.
Break point number 2. Another chance for the double break. Rafa responds. He's having to dig deep at the moment just to stay with Djokovic.
Yeah, again, the return just a little too short, but it was a nice combination of shots from the Spaniard. Created just enough angle to force Djokovic to open the racket face and play defensively.
brilliant from Nadal, raising his game. Fighting for his life.
That's an absolute wrecking ball, this final backhand. Stepping well inside the baseline. Didn't quite time it as perfectly as he would have wanted, but just caught the line. Realizes that only his best will do in this situation.
Survives the game. That took some doing for Nadal. Could turn out to be a key hold, that one. Just keeps him in it, doesn't it? Djokovic still with the break though. 2-1, second set. Earlier on today, the Court 1 here in Beijing was officially renamed the Brad Druitt Court in honour of the late ATP Executive Chairman and President Brad Druitt, who passed away last May, aged 54, following a battle with motor neuron disease. The Australian also served as the ATP's Chief Executive Officer for the international group, overseeing the growth and success of operations in the Middle East, Asia and Pacific regions. So a fitting tribute to the Australian. Good player in his day too. Brad reached the top 40 in singles, top 20 in doubles, and a statue unveiled in his honour, a fitting tribute just before the final began.
It's a really interesting passage of play now, this, within the overall match. And holding there, Nadal's juices will be flowing. He realised that improvement was required. He needed to play a little more aggressively, needed to execute the game plan a little better. He was able to do that. Djokovic had that point for a double break. Nadal in situations like this is like a wounded animal, so dangerous. But still Djokovic, of course, who holds the upper hand. Big question is he able to continue playing this well throughout the course of the match?
Correction those. Replay the point.
I'll tell you what, if this was called out, what the umpire suggesting there is that the call was off-putting for Nadal. And that's why Djokovic, I think, is a little frustrated there, because there's not a lot of adjustment you can do when the ball skids through off the line like that in terms of execution of your shot. So Djokovic a little unlucky there.
Missed by a mile as well, didn't he? The Nadal forehand.
Yeah, you're late because the ball skidded through. You haven't changed anything in your shot because of the call. It's come much later than your swing, relatively speaking. Well, he's got to keep a better length, Nadal. He's dropped the ball short all day, and he's been punished for it. It's nice variation. He has gone up the line a fair few times in similar situations, Djokovic, so keeping Nadal guessing.
No sign of any let up as yet.
First service. First service.
Just what the doctor ordered.
𝐁𝐞𝐢𝐣𝐢𝐧𝐠 leads 3-1.
Couldn't be serving any better, really. Exceptionally high percentage of first serves in, winning the vast majority of points when they find their mark. Just not allowing Nadal any opportunities to make any inroads at all on his service games. And that just continues to pile the pressure on the Spaniard.
Out, 30 love.
A bit reminiscent of the Nadal-Fognini match, isn't it, where Fognini had chances to go double break up in the second set. Nadal just kept finding a way of hanging around and eventually got the break back and then turned the match around. Of course, a much bigger challenge for him this afternoon, but still he's able just to stay in this second set at the moment, as long as there's just a single break separating them.
Well, he's made a career out of competing exceptionally well when odds have been very much against him, eventually prevailing.
Couple of easy holds then for both men. Nadal just about stays in touch, but it's Djokovic still with the advantage midway through this second set. He leads with a break, 3-2.
Obviously, when you're setting the break down, there are two things that can happen or that are required to happen to allow you to get back into the match. So the first is that perhaps your opponent loses concentration. That can happen with the finish line well within sight. But of course, Djokovic has a lot of experience, much more than someone like Fognini. So there's a less chance of that happening. But the quality of his tennis has been so high today. You know, normally there are little dips in matches, and Nadal just ready and waiting for that to happen. Or you have to raise the level of your own game. You just have to say, right, well, I know what's required. I need to play my very best tennis, and these guys are good enough that, you know, more often than not, they can do that. So that's the big question as far as Nadal's concerned. You know, is he going to be able to do that when it really matters, to force his way back into the match?
So Djokovic just 3 holds of serve away from being crowned the champion. Sounds straightforward, doesn't it? But when you've got Rafael Nadal down the other end of the court, things get a little more complicated. With a break, 3-2. Djokovic arrived early in Beijing. So 2 or 3 days before the tournament started, I was reading he played an exhibition match with Li Na inside this stadium. 12,000 fans packed in. Li Na came through that one, 3-2.
No way.
Yeah,
she got the W.
So she's the only person to have beaten him here. There's a but, though.
Gone.
I'll come on to it. she had 30 love in every game.
And that improved Djokovic's popularity, didn't it, as well? So a sensible loss, that one.
Raising funds for children's charities in this part of the world. Oh, such a shame. He did the hard work, put himself in such a good position, Nadal.
The quality of Djokovic's defensive play puts that kind of pressure on opponents, forces them to go ever closer to the lines. Nothing wrong with that forehand there, but look at the response. Nadal knew that to eventually win the point, to hit a winner or to draw the error, he had to go close to the line. Just misjudged it slightly. Phenomenal movements from Djokovic.
Just every inch the professional Djokovic, isn't it, in every respect. Things like that exhibition, doing his bit for the promotion of the game. Even down to the diet, you were telling me, Jason, I'll tell you, saw one of his trainers with his boxes of food.
Very, very strict as far as his diet's concerned now. It's helped him a lot too.
Yeah, I've just read his book, in fact, a few weeks ago. It's Serve to Win, a story of how the gluten-free and dairy-free diet changed his career. It's interesting how much emphasis he put on that. Really makes the point that it completely turned his career around. A little bit closer to the title.
They did so well there, Djokovic. Nadal threw everything by the kitchen sink at Djokovic there, but he stood strong. Did so well, Nadal, too, because he was under a lot of pressure initially in the rally, and then he tried to turn defense into attack. But this has been such a good performance, so solid so far from Djokovic.
Yeah, reading that book even inspired me to give gluten-free a go, Jason. Have you noticed the trimmer look today?
How's that been panning out for you this week?
Don't tell my girlfriend about the cheese wraps before finals. Or the Orion pies. There'll be hill sprints to pay, I think. get back in the UK.
So you've been following the Nadal diet this week, haven't you? Pretty much eating anything.
It's time to change the subject. Everything in moderation.
That's Nadal's motto.
Good hold from Rafa. Once more, it just enables him to stay in touch. You never know when it's just a single break. His fans will be hoping he can produce something miraculous. Djokovic, 4-3, second set.
Thank you.
A lot of excitement inside this arena. The Djokovic fans sensing their man is closing in on victory. The Nadal fans hoping for a miracle. He's raised his game, Rafa, hasn't he, over the last 10 or 15 minutes, but so far hasn't been enough.
Rushing that final shot, but again, Nadal fully understands the importance of trying to remain aggressive. But it's a style of tennis that he can execute well when he's supremely confident. Not necessarily the case today. A little short of his best. And therefore it's a lot more difficult to execute such a risky game plan.
15.
It's at the stage in the match that you can see the finish line. Very easy to lose your focus and not remain in the present. Everybody does it. Nadal, Djokovic, the great Pete Sampras said, look, of course I used to get injured, but nervous rather, but it's about playing well, understanding that I was nervous. It's a lesson that we can all learn from the great players.
Called long.
For once, good use of the slice backhand, choosing it there as a tactical option as opposed to being forced to use it defensively in the middle of rallies. Just keeping the ball a little lower, dropped it nice and short. Djokovic failing to get underneath that final backhand. Not easy for a double-hander.
Djokovic will be mighty relieved to see that fly long. Just thinking, these are the moments, aren't they, when you do have a losing record recently against the player. They just start coming back at you. Just sows a few seeds of doubt in the mind. And what Djokovic is thinking right now.
Maybe finally, as long as he can maintain the lead. The big challenge will come if Nadal does find a way to break and get back on level terms, because Djokovic had chances at the French, didn't he, in the fifth? He had chances in the third set, tail end of that final, the US Open. It didn't pan out very well for him when he didn't make the most of those opportunities. And it'll be a real test for him today if that happens. But he's okay at the moment with the lead.
Nadal misfires, and Djokovic is just a game away from victory now.
Rode his luck throughout the course of that rally there. The Spaniards hit the line on at least 3 occasions. Finally, way too late on the forehand when he could see a little bit of open court. Just took his eye off the ball, perhaps. Over-forcing.
Thank you.
Nadal serving to stay in the match.
It's been a real feature of the match, hasn't it? Quality of Djokovic's return of serve. The length he's been able to keep. And as a result, the pressure he's been able to put Nadal under. The Spaniard has struggled the whole match to hold comfortably.
Very least, Nadal will want to force Djokovic to serve the match out.
Thank you.
Give himself one more chance to break. Missed by much.
40-15.
Nadal's doing everything he can to keep his dreams of another title here in Beijing alive.
Djokovic leads.
But he has to break to stay in this final. Djokovic will serve for the title.
He's competed as well as he's been allowed to, really, in the match so far. And he's certainly raised the level of his game in this second set. There's no question about that. Djokovic has stood firm. And of course, now this is the moment of truth as far as he's concerned. His pride will have been hurt losing the #1 ranking. This will send a nice message to Nadal. The Spaniard to perhaps enjoy that #1 ranking, but Djokovic will most certainly want it back at some stage in the future. And this is as good a time as any to start.
So just 4 points away. Novak Djokovic has played well all week, and he has produced the goods this afternoon so far against Rafael Nadal. Just needs one more game. Something of an unorthodox volley to kick the game off. A wry smile from Novak.
He got away with it though, didn't he? That's what counts. Again, he chose the right moment to move forwards.
Thank you.
Almost time to celebrate for the Djokovic fans inside the stadium. With an hour and 26 minutes on the match clock. The top seed with 3 match points.
Thank you. Please. Thank you.
Djokovic defends his title. It's a record 4th trophy in Beijing for Novak Djokovic. He's still unbeaten at this tournament, 19 successive victories. And it was a well-earned victory this afternoon against Rafael Nadal. The Serbian was the better man. And now the celebrations can begin in earnest. Djokovic is the king in Beijing. He wins 6-3, 6-4.
And he was thanking the big guy upstairs there, but didn't need any help this afternoon because his performance was absolutely outstanding. You've got to do the fundamentals well to stand any chance at all of beating Nadal. And numbers he posted on serve were incredible. And the quality of his return of serve was absolutely outstanding, particularly off the backhand. And then once he got into many of those protracted baseline rallies, he was able to dominate proceedings. He was able to move Nadal around. He was able to forced the Spaniard to hit sliced backhands, and that helps his cause so much. He dealt with the short central ball so well, and then of course he responded beautifully when Nadal started to play a little better in that second set. But 72% of first serves in, winning 91% of those points throughout the course of the match. Defended his second serve incredibly well. Fundamental difference between the two in that regard. Djokovic winning 77% of those points, Nadal just 33%. Djokovic had 4 break points in total, converting 2, 50%, so always good against the likes of Nadal, and he shut the Spaniard out in that regard throughout the match. So that gives you a pretty good indication of how well he was able to serve throughout. Couldn't really have played any better. A superb response to losing his #1 ranking. A winner in 1 hour and 27 minutes, and thoroughly deserved.
So a wonderful afternoon for Novak Djokovic, and while we wait for all those involved in the presentation ceremony to take their place on the show court here, let's just remind ourselves of the whole ranking scenario, Jason. Of course, at the start of the week, Rafael Nadal knew that he had to make the final to leapfrog Novak Djokovic into top spots, and he's done that. But a bit of a blow for Rafa today, isn't it? He was thoroughly outplayed by Djokovic. Perhaps one for pride for the Serbian this afternoon.
Yeah, no question that will have given him a little bit of additional incentive. He's got a great record here. He's very proud of that. Loves the support that he gets. Actually, slightly more popular than Nadal. That always helps. But it's been a process for the Spaniard, hasn't it? He's had such a good season. He's been making ground on Djokovic as far as the entry system rankings are concerned. And when you look at the race, I mean, he's 3 days on horseback ahead of Djokovic. So there's no question that he was going to become #1 in the world at some stage. Just happened to be this week.
So plenty for both men to celebrate, if you like. Another title in Beijing for Novak Djokovic, but of course Nadal can celebrate returning to the top of the rankings tomorrow morning when the new list is published by the ATP World Tour. Sets up the rest of the season nicely too, doesn't it? Coming to a conclusion in London at Barclays ATP World Tour Finals. Both men have booked their place at the O2 in London.
Yeah, and of course for Djokovic, he's got the Davis Cup final to look forward to as well. You know, he's won the Australian Open. If he can do well in London and, you know, help his country win the Davis Cup, he will look back, I think, in the off-season and see it as a very successful season, although at the moment it's hard to think of it in those terms because of the losses he suffered at the French Open at the hands of Nadal, and in the Wimbledon final at the hands of Murray, and then of course in New York at the hands of the Spaniard again.
There are a total of 4 Champions Trophies of China Open. Name the cups of China.
Trophy. What a fine trophy it is too, making its way into position ahead of the trophy ceremony. Djokovic will be familiar with this piece of silverware. 4th time he's about to get his hands on it. Winner for the first time back in 2009. Defended in 2010. Thomas Berdych won in 2011. Djokovic wasn't around that year, and Djokovic was champion once more in 2012 as we look get pictures of
The
the
runner-up 2013 gentlemen men's
VIPs
singles
moving on to court
𝐁𝐞𝐢𝐣𝐢𝐧𝐠
ahead of the presentation. So first up, the runner-up, Rafael Nadal. Ultimately disappointing for the Spaniard. I'm sure he's enjoyed his week in Beijing once more. And of course, it will always be a special place for the Spaniard having got his hands on an Olympic gold medal in this city back in 2008, not too far away as well, a few yards away, in fact, on the Lotus Court, the B courts here at this venue.
He's had a lot of highs in the season so far, very few lows, so there will be positives he can take from this week, and he'll be looking to get back to winning ways next week in Shanghai, won't he?
10 titles so far this season. Thoroughly deserved world #1 ranking tomorrow morning. And the bonus of a cuddly toy, which is always nice, isn't it? It is. Like Djokovic, though, hugely popular in this part of the world. Been with him in Tokyo a couple of times. Hugely popular out in Japan as well. The time to celebrate for the 2013 China Open champion, Novak Djokovic.
Mr. 𝐁𝐞𝐢𝐣𝐢𝐧𝐠, Vice Minister of General Administration of Sport of China, Vice President of China's Olympic Committee, and Mr. 𝐁𝐞𝐢𝐣𝐳, Vice President of China Life Insurance Company, will present the trophy to the winner.
有请2013中国网球公开赛组委会主任、国家体育总局副局长、中国奥委会副主席肖天先生为冠军选手颁奖。有请2013中国网球公开赛钻石赞助商中国人寿保险公司副总裁张小杰先生陪同颁奖。
He's done it again. The first player in the history of this tournament to win the title 4 times. And just to reiterate, that's 19 successive victories.
Congratulations to Novak Djokovic. Please take a picture with the presenters.
让我们再次对作为挥旗表示祝贺，请颁奖嘉宾与获奖选手合影留念。
He'll also walk away with a handsome check for
有请亚军选手纳达尔颁奖
just around $560,000.
冠军选手共同合影。
And of course, having won this time last year, he'll defend those ranking points. He was talking only yesterday about the fact that he wants to get back to the top of the rankings as quickly as possible. That will be his next mission.
Interview with the players.
感谢颁奖嘉宾。现在让我们有请佟可欣女士对冠亚军选手进行现场采访。
Ladies and gentlemen, what a great rivalry, what a great matchup. World #1 and world #2. One more round of applause. 让我们再次热烈的掌声感谢我们世界第1和世界第2的精彩表现。Rafa, you had a strong comeback here. You have won 10 titles in all. And I'm sorry you didn't make it today. But I think maybe you're not in the best physical conditions, or you just play too many tournaments.
No, just I played against two good opponents today. No, just congratulate Novak for his great season, for his great tournament. He played much better than me today, so he deserved the victory.
纳达尔今天已经拿到了10个冠军，其中包括2个大满贯。我说今天是不是你因为打了太多的比赛，所以没有赢这个决赛？他说只是因为今天他的对手发挥的太好了，他输的心服口服。We have many Chinese supporters for you. Do you want to hear from them? 我们中国的纳达尔的粉丝，让我们听一听。 Very strong supportive fans from China. So, do you have anything to say to them?
Well, I just can say thank you very much for the support. Have been 4 years without coming here to Beijing. It was an amazing experience. I hope will be not the last time. I enjoyed the tournament. I think the tournament is improving a lot year by year. So just thank you very much to everybody, because the week have been, you know, very, very good for me, and because of, you know, this great stadium, this great atmosphere, they make me feel like home.
Both these guys will move on to Shanghai, of course, the Masters 1000 next week. And conclusion to the Asian swing on the ATP World Tour. And they're the top 2 seeds in Shanghai, so who knows, this time next week might be talking about this rivalry once more.
China Open men's singles title. The still not be broken. So, Beijing must be your luckiest place in the world. Do you think so?
There's only one answer to this.
Definitely one of the most special places, one of the most special tournaments in my life, in my career. I love coming back here. There's more and more, I guess, popularity of tennis in China over the last couple of years, and it's fantastic to play in front of so many people, and the organization is magnificent. Everybody who took part in contribution of the organization of this event, and you know, China Open organizing committee, all the volunteers, and everybody is making sure that we feel at home, and thank you for that.
So, although you have won the title, but you lost your #1 position to Rafael Nadal, according to the ATP ranking system. So, when will you get it back?
This might be awkward.
Well, first of all, I have to say congratulations to Rafa, because, I mean, he deserves definitely to be #1 of the world this year with the season that he had. He's the best player so far in 2013, no question about it. And you know, me, I'm just very happy to be continuing to play well, and you know, hopefully I can maintain that rhythm.
Diplomatic.
德约也说呢，他的表现是当之无愧的。今年作为世界表现最好的球员是当之无愧的，而德约也将继续努力，继续把他最优秀的状态留给这个世界网球。当然了，我们也希望他们有更多的机会来到中网。Okay, last question. Do you want have any special word to the Chinese fans in? I hope it's in Chinese.
谢谢你们的支持。
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic. One more round. Applause. Congratulations again. One more round. Photo shooting. Thank you.
They're both such great champions, such great ambassadors for the sport.
Ladies and gentlemen,
So popular in this part of the world. All the fans have thoroughly enjoyed watching both these guys ply their trade this week. And another week to enjoy them, of course, in China.
That concludes the 2013 Gentlemen Men's Singles Award Ceremony. Thank you, everyone.
2013中国网球公开赛男子单打颁奖仪式到此结束。
So Novak Djokovic, the champion, once more in Beijing. And that's no mean feat at this tournament. It's one of the strongest ATP World Tour 500s that certainly that we've been at, Jason. 6 of the world's top 10 and the top 2 players in the world. Never easy winning tournaments this time of the year as well. It's been a long season for these guys, particularly the ones who are successful. They just have to keep grinding out the weeks and the matches, don't they?
Yeah, they've got a lot of tennis, but they've played a lot of good tennis too, and it's so nice to see them both at the same event. We're used to seeing that at the Masters Series 1000 level, but normally they split as far as the 500s are concerned in the week before 1000, but it's so nice to see such a strong draw here. We've seen some great tennis. Nadal, some might say, was slightly fortunate to make it through to the final. Fabio Fognini might have beaten him, but he responded well. Fernando Verdasco took a set off Djokovic earlier in the week, played some phenomenal tennis in order to do so, but when you look at the week as a whole, the quality of tennis that was played, then Djokovic thoroughly deserves to be the champion. There's no question about that. It is such a good feel-good factor for him returning to Beijing. That always helps. And of course, he will have been slightly disappointed losing the #1 ranking, but what a way to respond by getting his hands on another one of these Masters Series 500 trophies.
Yeah, some big champions through the year, aren't there? Look at the names who've won these tournaments. And of course, we can confirm that Juan Martín del Potro is the champion in Tokyo this weekend as well. Got the better of Milos Raonic, the Canadian. So just 2 more tournaments in terms of the ATP World Tour 500 Series, both the same week. In late October, we'll be in Valencia, and another one alongside that in Basel. So thanks for joining us over the last few days. We've hoped you enjoyed the action as much as we have. There's lots more ATP tennis to look forward to over the next few weeks, so enjoy watching the world's best during the conclusion to the ATP calendar. Until next time, from me, Lee Goodall, Jason Goodall alongside me, and all the team behind the scenes here in China, it's goodbye from Beijing.